Hello, everyone. I hope everybody's having a great afternoon. My name is E. Michelle Mickens. I am a global strategic sustainability consultant, and I hope you can hear me okay. But I'm here today to talk to you about something a little different. I'm here today to talk to you about a phenomenal, all right, I see a heart, a phenomenal entrepreneur. But before I do that, let me just share a little bit about who I am so that you can have a clue. Because I come in every now and again and I'm working on being more present more frequently. Again, I said my name is E. Michelle Mickens and my company is Live for Change. And Live for Change is a consultancy group. What we primarily do is work with individuals, we work with companies, we work with leaders and managers, we work with entrepreneurs, anyone who has a desire to improve their internal organizational structure. And how do we do that? Our focus is primarily on sustainability, sustainable practices and principles. How do you incorporate these principles into your vision, into your purpose? So what we do is help you meet a triple bottom line objective. That's working with people, the planet, as well as making a profit. The whole focus is to do no harm to the environment. So I would be the person, or my team, we would come in, assess where you currently are in your organization. We'll take a look at the current practices that you have. And then again, the focus would be how do we make the necessary improvements to be competitive, to make a profit, but also to be driven by your purpose of helping your employees, your connections, people that you work with on a regular basis. Again, the whole focus is really how to do no harm or no further damage to our environment. And so I'll be more than happy to go into more detail about that. But today's scope is really focused on a phenomenal entrepreneur. And this is in light of the this month being Women's History Month. And, you know, I take, I guess there's some honor in celebrating women's history. But women should be celebrated every single day, right? Every single day, women should be celebrated. But I'll take advantage of this opportunity just to jump in and celebrate and highlight successes that women achieve. This, however, is a little different. This scope is going to focus on how the Proverbs 31 woman, this phenomenal woman who is always viewed as this incredible, perfect wife, when in fact she was also an entrepreneur. So if you look in my bio, you'll see a link, a bit.ly link that will take you directly to the passage or the info sheet that I created. It's just a way of having something to keep in front of you, these wonderful attributes of an entrepreneur that are still applicable today. I wrote an article maybe back in sometime last year, a few months ago. And the article was on the phenomenal woman, the Proverbs 31 woman. And I thought I would highlight some of these incredible attributes just to encourage you. It will encourage you men, but it will also encourage the female who's out here trying to make things happen on her own, sometimes feeling alone, feeling like, you know, you're not sure if you're on the right path. Well, again, the scope today is to help encourage you and to hopefully give you some tips and some ideas, some strategies on what you may be able to do to improve your entrepreneurial skills. Now, I'm going to ask you, please invite your followers. Invite your followers. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to stop touching the screen. But yes, please come into the room, invite your followers. And I'm saying hello to replay viewers. I'm coming in at an odd time during the day, so perhaps you guys are out there making it happen. All right, I'll go ahead and share some of these attributes of the Proverbs 31 entrepreneurial woman. I have about 20 different attributes. And one is she has a spirit of excellence. A spirit of excellence. And that primarily means that she always thought in advance. She always planned things out. She always had a regard for doing things in a manner that was respectable. She was definitely revered as a woman of respect and high regard. She cared for other people. She really had that sustainability mindset, a sustainability mindset. And you'll hear me talk more and more about sustainability because it definitely exceeds beyond just the planet. We're talking about people, we're talking about the planet, and we're talking about making a profit. And this Proverbs 31 woman, she exemplified those characteristics of a sustainable leader, So as I mentioned, she has a spirit of excellence. If she was going to be somewhere at a certain time, she was there on time. So that's a key principle for us who are entrepreneurs. Another attribute, she assessed materials needed to do the necessary work. One of the things that we must be mindful of is how important it is that we assess a project, assess whatever it is that we're about to venture into doing, count up the cost, the Word of God says, so that we will know what we need. And this woman, she was known to assess the materials that she needed to get the work done. So she was able to assess. Spirit of excellence, she was able to assess her situation. Lead by example. I posted on Instagram earlier this morning, about the importance for leaders to lead by example. If we say we're going to do it, honor our word and do it. I also mentioned in this particular post that it's so important that if we are going to establish relationships, even with our employees, establish relationships with our clients, and if we're going to deliver, we need to deliver on time. That's the spirit of excellence. If we're going to do something, we need to do it as agreed. If we say we're going to pay a certain amount, then we need to adhere to that. And I know many of you all have this story that people say one thing and do something different, having that underhanded, undermining mindset, but that's not what we're about. We are phenomenal entrepreneurial women. We are phenomenal. And so that spirit of excellence compels us to lead by example. The next is edify. We edify. So what does that mean to edify? Build up. One of the things that this phenomenal Proverbs 31 woman was known for, she was known to edify. And so that's what we will do. We will edify others. It's not about us. We want to empower other people to get the best out of them. And the way that we will achieve that is by edifying them, building them up. Another attribute, kindness. We choose to be kind. As a matter of fact, in Galatians, the 5th chapter, one of the attributes or one of the characteristics of having the Spirit of God in operation in you is being kind. It costs you nothing to be kind. You can even be kind when you're bringing correction, because your goal is not to tear somebody down, but to edify, right? So to edify them, in that process of edification, you can be kind. So the Proverbs 31 woman, she was kind. And so I'm encouraging us entrepreneurs, let's be kind. Valuable. Do you add value? Does your business add value? And I would venture to say that at least the people that I see here on Periscope, you guys add value. You guys are phenomenal leaders, phenomenal entrepreneurs. So that's the other thing. We want to make sure that what we do adds value. And so this Proverbs 31 woman, she was considered valuable. She works willingly with her hands. She's not sitting around idle. She's not sitting around eating and talking and gossiping and doing things that's non-productive. She was a woman who worked with her hands. I have the vision of her being the type of person that gave the example and showed and demonstrated what it was that she needed to have done. So she was that type of leader that worked as well as lead. So let's be found working and doing as well as dictating and telling other people what we expect them to do. Amen, amen, amen. The other attribute is that she strengthened and equips herself. Now, I like this one. Strengthens and equips herself by being or exercising self-efficacy. So that's what self-efficacy is about. Being strengthened in oneself, confident in oneself, having the ability and skill set to accomplish a goal, being led by that desire. Self-efficacy is all about being confident to do a task. And this woman, she was able to strengthen herself. I see her as a person who stayed abreast on everything that was going on in her industry. And that's what I want to encourage us to do. Let's be thought leaders. And thought leaders are abreast on those topics, those things that are of interest to them. My background, as I said earlier, is sustainability. So I am always curating information. I write blogs. I'm always writing articles about different aspects of sustainability, primarily corporate social responsibility and global social responsibility. That is so key to me. Ethics, those are the areas that I focus on. But it's important that we are displaying self-efficacy as leaders. So that was another attribute of the Proverbs 31 woman. Servant leader. She was a servant leader. So what's a servant leader? I know that many of you all have heard this term. And a servant leader is that person who has a spirit of servanthood. Jesus was the perfect servant leader. He was willing, more than willing, to actually serve his disciples. He served the people who came to hear him speak, to get a message from him, to be lifted up by him. He didn't mind serving. He took any task. Remember, he washed the feet of his disciples because he didn't think of himself any higher than he ought. He served. And so as leaders, that separates being a boss, because a boss 9 times out of 10 is not willing to serve in that capacity where they will get down in the dirt with you, get down to the nitty gritty with you. That's that worker part, that servant part of what can I do for you? What do you need to do? What do you need from me so that you can be the best that you can be? That's a servant's mindset, having the heart of a servant. Generate multiple streams of income, multiple revenue streams. The Proverbs 31 woman didn't depend on one income stream. She had multiple income streams. As a matter of fact, the next attribute, she had the ability to see afar, foresight, always abreast on what's coming down the pipeline. As an entrepreneur, as a leader, even if you are working for a major corporation, one of the things that's appreciated by leaders is the ability to have foresight. When you're sitting down doing your strategic plan, and if you need help with that, I can help you with your strategic plan. But if you're sitting down and you're doing your planning sessions, you're not only thinking about what you've done historically and what you're currently working on, but you're always sitting down year after year. You're looking at what's coming down the pipeline, what's on the horizon. You're keeping abreast on what's happening in your industry. Who are your competitors? What are they doing? What's your threats? We can talk about that more at another time. But that's having foresight, always concerned about what's happening in the future. And for the future, not just of your company and your organization, but the future of those who are entrusted in your care, your followers, your employees, those that you work with. Those are the people that you are concerned with, and you have a concern about their future. The next attribute, trustworthiness. Can you be trusted? It all ties into, do you do what you say you're going to do? Can I trust you? And so the Proverbs 31 woman, she was trustworthy. She was so dependable. Her husband, now, even though I'm talking about the entrepreneurial side, but one thing that he knew, he didn't have to worry about her being out in the streets, running around. She was such a great example. She gave comfort to her family, her children, her husband, those in the community. They recognized her as a person who was trustworthy. And that says volumes. Again, you can be a boss. All bosses aren't trustworthy. But a leader, and we're only talking about a phenomenal leader, is somebody who can be trusted. The next attribute, looks for the best and gathers from afar. Now, I consider that having a global mindset. When you are not only concerned about what's happening in your immediate sphere, and it's so important to know what's happening locally and having local relationships, but as you are seeking the best for your client, the best connections for your business, you are willing to go overseas. You are willing to cross cultures. That to me is having that global mindset, and that ties into looking for the best and gathering from afar. Getting the best information. Having that global mindset, looking at other cultures. How are they doing things? What can we learn from other cultures? Again, to become the best that we can be. We can't keep looking at the same thing, looking at the same way things are being done and expect to grow. And one way that we can grow exponentially is being exposed to other cultures. It's really not just about us. The next attribute, we're talking about attributes of the phenomenal woman. So another attribute is profitable. I mentioned earlier that she was about making or had multiple streams of income. Well, this woman was also very profitable. Very profitable. So I mentioned that this is a sustainable, this scope still talks about sustainability, even though it's focused on the Proverbs 31 woman, because there's different ways to look at sustainability. And when you hear the word triple bottom line, it's like a three-leg stool. And so one leg is the planet, the second people, and the third profit. And so we've already looked at how this phenomenal woman was very mindful of the people, whether it was her family, those she interacted with out in her industry, because she was very industrious. She was very familiar with different trades. If you read Proverbs 31 for yourself, you will see that this woman had connections all over the world. So she was a globally minded person, but she knew how to make a profit. So that tells me that she understood how to negotiate deals. She knew a good deal from a bad deal. She knew how to lay out a plan. And so that way she knew how to make a profit, knew how to make money. So that's another attribute of the phenomenal woman, the phenomenal entrepreneur. She was dignified. She carried herself because she cared about herself. She was able to carry herself in a way where it was respectful. She wasn't loose. I visualized that she was mindful of the words that came out of her mouth, not cussing and not cutting up and not showing out. I believe that this phenomenal woman knew how to present herself. You have to think about it. She probably sat before kings and had that opportunity to work with, make connections with those who were decision makers. So she had some air about her of dignity where she was well respected. And that's key when you are talking about doing business globally, locally. If you're a leader, that's one of those things that separates you from others because you know how to carry yourself. You're emotionally balanced. You're not easily ruffled. Even when things appear to be falling apart, you know how to operate. You know how to function. You know how to speak. You know how to think before speaking. So that's a person who knows how to carry themselves with some dignity, some self-respect. Another attribute is that she was never idle. This phenomenal entrepreneur was never idle. She was always thinking of how to be productive, a good manager of her time, a good manager of her resources. And again, she didn't just sit around wasting time. She wasn't wasteful. She was never idle. She was a blessing to those who were entrusted in her care. She had servants. She had people who worked for her. But she took care of them. She saw fit. That's that servant heart that I mentioned earlier. She saw fit to care for these people. She was concerned about their needs. A good leader is someone, a good entrepreneur is a good leader. And that good leader cares about their relationships. Even if it's not an employee, anybody that you are contracted to do business with, anybody that you work with in some capacity, even if it's volunteer, whoever that is, your family, of course. But even beyond then, you have a natural care and concern and regard for that person's well-being. That's a phenomenal entrepreneur. And the best I saved for last, the best attribute that this woman had, this phenomenal entrepreneur, she feared God. In this day and age, where everything around, every time, especially our president, every time he opens his mouth, people hold their breath, they get nervous, they're anxious. With everything that's happening in our government and everything that's happening around the world in general, people are fearful of their future. They're fearful of what's going to happen next. And sometimes that fear overtakes them and they don't know how to function, or they don't make wise decisions or sound decisions. But there's a difference when you fear the Lord. Fearing God means that you honor and respect him. And that the only thing that you would be afraid of is his anger or his wrath against you. But truly, because you know that he loves you, he doesn't want us to be afraid of him. Be aware of the fact that all power is in his hands, but you have a relationship with him and you respect and honor him for who he is. And you know that he has your best interest at heart. So this phenomenal, incredible entrepreneur had so many attributes. These were 20 that I ran off and listed here. But she had so many more attributes. I would encourage you to read Proverbs 31, 10 through 31, and find these and more attributes, because she was phenomenal. I know, I keep saying that, but she was unlike any one that I can put my finger on, especially being a female, being a woman. And we're talking back in the Old Testament biblical times where women were not regarded as much of anything. They were objects, truly objects. And that's another scope for another time. But I want to encourage you again. You know, this month, March, is the month where women are celebrated, their history is celebrated. And so, again, I wanted to take advantage of celebrating this phenomenal woman whose name we don't know. So that means that we, as women entrepreneurs, we can put our name in that spot. And we, too, can display those attributes that are found in this phenomenal woman. Check out my bio. Click on the bit.ly link, and you can get the free list of the attributes, or check out my website. Perhaps you need some consultation, and I would be more than happy to talk to you about what's happening in your organization. I'm E. Michelle Mickens. I am a global strategic sustainability consultant and coach, and I'm here for you to help you with your sustainability needs. God bless you. I enjoyed you today.